So, being Christian means easier life. right? Not necessarily. So let's talk about it. Life can sometimes be a roller coaster, and we get it.
So tune into The Walk, where we'll explore the modern-day Christian journey by addressing challenging questions and trending topics faced by young adults today. No topic is off limits.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of The Walk. I'm Melinda, and I'm here with
Danielle,
CJ,
And Andre.
We would like to welcome everybody who is tuned in right now. Thank you guys for watching with us. Make sure that you go ahead and like and subscribe to all of our channels at The Walk Live. And make sure you guys are sharing this as well, because we want as many people as we want joining this conversation. Actually, take 2 seconds to go ahead and hit that share button wherever it is on your screen, so that we can have a conversation with everybody, because we have a great topic for you guys tonight. And before we get started, I just want to ask everybody, how was your week? What was the week like for you guys?
Well, I'm getting over a little,
how was your week?
I'm getting over a little bug, so, don't judge me for how I sound, guys.
A lot of people are getting sick, but a lot of people are saying it's allergies, but I don't know.
Nah.
That's a little iffy.
I don't get no allergies.
No allergies?
Nah.
yikes!
Men.
So you're sick for real.
I said I'm getting over a bug. They gonna say, you sick?
Yeah, just stay over here. We got a COVID mask for him just in case.
y'all.
But anyway,
How was your week, Siege?
my week, it was very productive, I would say. Got a lot of work done. I actually visited some clients in Miami yesterday.
I
saw
saw that.
Yeah, so I did that, got back last night, got some more work done elsewhere as well. So yeah, my week was pretty impactful and productive. So hence why I'm just getting here.
Literally.
Y'all, CJ just walked in.
Like I just walked in like 10 seconds ago.
2 seconds before we were live. So I'm happy you're here, though. And you got here safely. Yeah.
Right?
Despite the accident that you encountered.
Right.
That's good.
Amen.
My week was actually not that bad. It wasn't anything spectacular. It was just a regular week. Went to work.
No bad news is good news.
Yeah,
Y'all, Danielle was
right.
playing y'all. She was just telling us a story about how she worked 12 hours.
That's true.
Worked out afterwards, had an hour nap.
I didn't
and
sleep.
She, I don't know
But
why
that's-
she playing y'all.
That's not the week. That was today.
Part of the week. Part of the day.
That was
sound
my
like
day.
listen, if that happened to me,
He went
it's
a
not
full
a regular
play-by-play
week.
the whole week. What did you do from Monday to Friday? Let's go.
I went to
No, I'm
the
just playing.
I went to work and I went to the gym. That's it.
That's a good week.
That is a good week.
Yeah, that's it.
My week. So I came back from a cruise so it was Friday to Monday we got back, and it was Dr. Miami. So that weekend, the start of the week, great. The meat of the week, it wasn't too bad. It was a regular, schmegular week, but this week did pass by fast, and I felt like I had a lot of stuff to catch up on. So I was kind of like, oh my gosh, but we made it to Sabbath, and
Praise the Lord.
I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm safe. We're all here. So
Tell us in the chat how your week has been. Let us know. Let us
let's
know.
let us see it.
I don't think this week was
I see we have a couple people in here. Remember, guys, to continue sharing this throughout the show. So next we're going to move into our hot topic segment. We cannot forget about that. But I'm going to let Danny handle this one. So
Okay, so we actually have a little video for you guys.
Will not marry a girl if she doesn't take my last
Would
name.
you hyphenate?
No. Hold on. I know. Here's it's the smallest sign of showing your child or children that you're not completely on the same page. You can't agree to just one name for your family. So instead you're trying to do both parts instead of unifying as one name. Women get the fancy ring, they get most of the input on the marriage. I feel like the name is not a bad trade-off.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
So, you guys,
I thought that part about
What-
it being childish was kind of funny. And I know people can be triggered by that, but I was like, you know what? I can see that correlation, how he got there. I'm not saying if I agree or disagree, but I see how he made
but I want to know
that statement.
What are your thoughts?
Did someone go first?
I can go.
All right,
Okay.
all right.
I personally want my husband's last name. I don't care to have a hyphenated last name.
Okay.
But I do understand that some people may want to hyphenate their last names because they may have had a previous thriving career.
Right.
That, they have all their degrees in, their certifications, and they just want to keep that part of their last name. But me personally, I can drop the Allard. But to each his own. To each his own.
Well, you guys,
So, all right. So, honestly, I have not given that much thought. Like, sometimes I forget that that's even an option.
Because you want her to have your last name.
I guess so, maybe.
But
But
you just automatically think it's just something natural to do,
That
yeah,
makes-
right?
that
like I feel like
makes it-
So
if we didn't talk about this, I probably would have been like very blindsided. She'd be like, "How do you feel about hyphenation? Hyphen what?"
right.
But if she came to you and was like, no, I want to keep my last name or hyphenate my last name, what would your reaction be?
I don't think it's that big a deal for me, but it would be a shock. Like I'd be like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, so you're not trying to be one with me?
I would see like what the reasoning is. Like if there's some reason, kind of like what you were saying, something that's linked to it, if having business or a company that you already had that was attached to your name, maybe your father or someone historically in your family has that name and you want to still be attached to it. In a sense, that's why you'd want to hyphenate it. So outside of that, I don't see the reason just because, just because. Like,
Yikes.
why? Like, why just because? I don't get it.
I'm like, so smiling so big at Danny's response. Like,
so here I am.
So here you
Because I want to hyphenate my last name.
Let's hear
my
it.
last name is unique. I would like to keep it only because it's unique.
are. So you're just because. Okay.
It's not necessarily just because.
Just
so
because.
if you had a
it's
regular
giving
last
just
If it
name,
was
you
a
wouldn't-
regular old white, the last name of
Johnson.
White or just Johnson, don't come for my
Can't
friend.
come for Simone.
No,
But
Simone
if I
actually,
had a
Simone
regular,
said something in the chat.
if I had a regular,
Wow.
a more common last name, yeah, I wouldn't mind getting rid of it.
Okay.
Simone, what does Genesis 2:24 say? You got to tell us, because I'm not. We don't know what that means.
Simone,
Yes.
Simone
And
is
But
she's
Simone says that her take has always been that we are to leave leave from our parents and cleave to our spouses. So black men had to go. That's my mom's name now.
Is
She
that,
completely disassociated.
is that biblical?
I think
The
the verse
last
she's talking
name?
about is that like, leave and cleave thing. Like, I'm gonna look it up.
No,
In a-
I don't think the last name is necessarily said in the Bible, but I just think she's saying, like, I'm supposed to detach
Well, if you're gonna leave,
my parents. Like, if I'm
yeah,
going to
fully
become
leave.
one with my husband, we're going to become
Right.
one.
I think it might be a part of the submission process in
Right.
a kind of way, right?
No, I'm submitted.
And I'm submitted with
everything
the
by
name
name.
attached to it with my name as well.
What do
Partially.
you mean?
Yeah.
With the name is coming,
But then,
and his is coming too.
do you agree where he says that it shows the children that you guys can't agree on anything?
I wouldn't say so because you also have people who've taken their spouse's last name and
they still can't agree.
here they are divorced.
That's
So-
true.
That's
After
true.
Danny says that does make it seem like, okay, he was dragging it a bit. Like,
Okay, so not necessarily, because it's just like, yes, it could go south either way, but why not start off on the best footing you could, you know?
but what if they both were like, yeah, go ahead and hyphenate your last name. I think it's great. They still came to an agreement.
But is that what happens a lot of times? I feel like someone ends up a little salty a lot of times. Like even
But
if
that's
they,
why I think this is subjective. Like,
I think
it really is.
It can
like,
be, yeah.
I think it's a big deal for men, though. I think it's more of a big deal for men, obviously, because it's something that, well, it's a part of our culture to take. It's common to take your husband's last name. I mean, you do have the times where the husband takes the wife's last name, which is also interesting. But I think it's more so like a thing like this is my wife and she has my last name, so I think it's bigger for men a bigger deal for men. I
Yeah, because you would expect like
don't.
your wife to completely come
Right,
to you.
come
and,
to
like,
you.
become
I am.
one with you. So I can see where men would get shocked.
The verse that Simone was talking about, she posted it. It said, "Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." So maybe it's like, you're not completely one flesh. It's like symbolic. What does this symbolize? The fact that you don't have the same name.
I could see that. I guess so.
I don't know. I just know for me, I'm gonna take his last name, and that's where I stand on the topic.
I'll pray about it.
I'll pray about it.
That'll be my response. I'll just pray about it. He better have a spectacular last name.
If it's spectacular, would you give up your last name?
Yeah, what if it's more unique than yours?
Do you want to tell the people your last name?
I don't. What is more unique than my last name though?
There's a lot of last names out there in the world.
What if it's sexiest? I mean, come on.
What?
Like,
Because
they're her last name.
She don't want to give up sexiest. What if his last name is sexiest?
With the T at the end.
The T.
It's still, that would still kind of be, hers would still
First
be
of all,
more unique because it would sound like that, but
Melinda,
it's not that.
Melinda, if she marries someone, and that's not gonna happen, but if she marries someone whose last name is sexiest, I feel like she can't hyphenate. Because how's she gonna
No,
sound
because Danielle
sexiest? Like at
That's
that point,
that's
she don't
even
have a
more
choice.
unique at that point.
Yeah, she don't have a choice. She can't hyphenate at that point.
I guess so. Let us know what you guys think in the
comments, right.
Would you hyphenate the females, would you hyphenate your last name? And for the men, would you mind if your wife hyphenated their last name? Let us know what you think. And for now, we're going to go ahead and move into our testimony time.
If he did it for me, he can do it for you.
Amen.
So, does anyone have a testimony they want to share? And in the comments, you guys can also share any testimonies, how God has been good to you guys. Let us know, because if God did it for you, he can do it for me. And I want to know.
I would say I usually have like a short testimony of just, God keeps me. But just to dig into that a little bit, there's a lot going on in society today. And at the end of the day, I'm good. Like, am I the richest person in the world? Like,
Right.
the person who can not work and just travel all the time? No, that's not me yet. But that's what I'm striving towards. And I feel like, God has kept me going. Like, those days where I'm not motivated, he just picks me up and keeps me going. And I also want to thank God for being able to use me throughout the day. Even if I'm down, some way, somehow, he's able to use me to bless someone else.
Right.
And that's a blessing in itself, because I always pray that people are able to see God through me. So, and I feel like a part of my ministry is helping people come to Christ, even if I'm like barely trying, like I always want to be someone that is an image of Christ in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
So I'm just grateful that God is always with me. He's always by my side. He's always showing me the way constantly, even when I think there is no way. So.
Yeah.
How's business been?
Business.
Booming.
Go also follow at Melinda's Canopy, guys. Right
Shameless
now
plug.
it is slow season. People probably have financial New Year's resolutions to save, but just wait till about after March. They'll be wanting to
Summertime.
throw big parties and springtime parties.
Taxes coming.
Once taxes
Yeah.
hit, boom, business
Tax
will
season.
be up and running. Hopefully, Can I just say I've been really busy lately, and my friends are like, Melinda, you don't have any time. But these people gave me a cup that says booked, busy, and blessed. So now I'm booked, busy, and blessed.
Hey.
So
We spoke
praise
it into
God.
Amen.
Yeah, I also am really grateful for my friend group that has supported me with my business. They actually purchased my website for me as my birthday gift 2 years ago. So shout out to all of my friends. And let's see if there's some testimonies in here. I'm not seeing any, guys. Make sure you go ahead and share your testimony with us.
Right. God ain't been good to nobody.
Shane said he had a solid week.
I think that might be from earlier. It was probably from
Okay.
earlier.
Yeah.
I don't
Popped
know.
up.
Maybe.
Well, I want to give a testimony about safe spaces, right? I think sometimes we can take advantage of having those people to go to, because a lot of times people don't have anyone to go to talk about issues, problems, what they have going on in their life, their week, and things like that, kind of like how we do. So I feel like we might take that for granted sometimes. So that's when I thank God for those specific people in my life. There's too many to name, for being that safe space to where I can come and talk about my issues and my problems and things that I'm going through. Because I was speaking with a friend earlier about something that was going on, and we kind of worked through the issue together. I wasn't even trying to resolve the issue. I literally just called him to say, hey, what's up? How are you doing? And then he asked me, how are you doing? Like, what's going on with you? Like, what's going on in your life? And I kind of told him what was going on, and we literally worked out that problem or that issue, and I came to a resolve that I think will be great for the conclusion. So it's like, wow, I wasn't even expecting that. I was just calling to say how you were doing. Thought the conversation was gonna go maybe 5 minutes, but ended up going like an hour. So I just want to thank God for having people, you can count on, that you can talk to, and being able to have a safe space.
Yeah, that's definitely a blessing for real.
That's crucial.
And
today.
you know what? Like, you see a lot of people, like you said, that don't have that, and you see like they just kind of like self-spiral.
Yeah,
because
spiral
like
out of control.
they can't go to nobody. Everything stays up here in their head, and yeah, that's really tough. And as someone that I feel like I'm very guarded myself, like I don't open up as much, and I have like seen that in myself where like I will kind of self-spiral and I'm like, oh my gosh, like just like running around, I feel like drained and stuff like that. So it is really good to definitely have that, for sure.
Definitely.
I personally love like creating a safe space for my friends and also just opening that door to them being my safe space also, especially for my guy friends, because I know, and although guys don't always want to vent to a female, I think sometimes having that other perspective or just knowing that you have someone there that's there for you, it's just another aspect of loving your friends and them loving you back correctly and learning how to love you and help you through, those circumstances and, just bringing you through with someone by your side. So, with all that love talk in, safe spaces and whatnot, that's going to bring us into our topic.
What a segue. That was great.
We have
you practiced that,
I
didn't
see.
you?
I see Tashina. She wants. I'm gonna read what Tashina said. She said, "This time last year, I was stressed that my mortgage went up hundreds of dollars due to a tax change. As of Monday, I have been promoted 2 levels in my current role and feeling so blessed and grateful. That is amazing. God is good. He definitely shows up on time." She's like, my bills are somehow cheaper this year than they were last year.
Oh, amen.
It was a struggle.
I wonder why.
And then we have Simone that says, I made the step to start therapy last week, and I'm super excited about where this will lead me, and I'm prayerful that it will lead to more peace.
I'm sure it will.
That is major.
Yeah.
Especially in the Black community.
Yeah.
So that's
definitely.
good. I'm very happy to hear that.
That's taking a really big step, and I am proud of you, Simi.
Yes.
Good job.
God did it for her.
He can do it for you.
Speaking of therapy real quick, so I remember last time I was actually on here, I told you guys I was starting therapy.
Yeah.
So that's actually been going very well. So I'm starting to see a lot of improvements in that. So thank God for that.
Good.
So therapy does work.
Proud of you.
How often are you going?
I want to say every 2 weeks, or either once a week or every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So with it, you kind of do have like a little homework and do little assessments while you're in therapy as well, like writing out certain things, like certain traumas, how to deal with them, creating certain boundaries, and et cetera, of how to kind of develop the roadmap of how to heal. So you do have to do a little homework in a sense.
That's so good. Keeps you going.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, guys, going into our topic for the night. I don't know about you guys, but I just love love. Like, I love love with my friends, with my family, and eventually, like, with my husband in a relationship. Love is just, I feel like we were created to love, really.
We were.
So with Valentine's Day just passing by, our topic is going to be about feelings, which is why this segment is titled In My Feelings. So the question for the night, we're going to start it off with, is love just a feeling, or is it more than a feeling? What does love encompass? in a relationship, in a friendship, is love just, oh, I'm happy to see you?
No, it's definitely not.
Love is not
It's
a feeling.
definitely not. It's definitely not just a feeling, because over some time, after you pass the honeymoon phase of whoever you're in love with, whether it be your spouse or friendships of getting to know someone, after that passes, you're gonna hit patches, right? So people naturally bump heads and butt heads over different things. Everyone has different perspective, different ideas, different ways how they're feeling. Something could be misunderstood and the other person gets upset, or you could be telling someone out of love how they need to handle a certain situation. They might take it the wrong way. So there's a whole bunch of different scenarios that can happen with this, right? So love is not just a feeling. I think you have to choose to love people despite what may happen.
Yeah.
So once you kind of realize that it can happen, you have to want to choose that person, and they also have to want to choose you as well.
Yeah, I agree. I always say love isn't just a feeling, it's also a choice. Like, I'm
Definitely.
choosing to love you, so I can agree with that.
I say that love is it's an action word. It's a verb. It's what you do. There are times where you're not going to want to show up for somebody because they've made you upset or whatever they have done to you, but you may have like a negative feeling. That feeling is no longer the good feeling. Now it's the bad
Right.
feeling towards something they may have done to you. But are you gonna
Based that one feeling. Off
do you
off
stop
the
loving them at the
relationship,
time? No. Yeah. It's like Melinda said, you're actively choosing to love them despite of.
Yeah. And I always relate it like that. That mindset has also helped me with my walk with Christ, because sometimes I don't feel like waking up and praying. Sometimes I don't want to talk to God. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not really feeling the Spirit right now. And there was a time period where I told my best friend, I was like, I'm not really hyped for Christ right now. Like, I'm really not. Like, I'm chilling.
Right.
But it's not about the feeling that you get all the time. It's about your discipline
Yeah.
and your commitment to Christ the same way He's committed to us.
Yeah.
But you know what?
That's a big word, discipline, right
What's
there.
big with that is, and someone, I don't remember even where I heard this, but someone kind of drew the picture for me, because this happens to a lot of us, and then it's good that you get to that space, but someone was trying to show me well, you got to think of God's perspective too. And what blew my mind is that we feel so guilty when that happens to us. We're like, oh man, I don't feel like waking up and talking to God or praying to God and stuff. And they were like, well, God keeps trying to tell you His character. His character is that He's your Father. He's like a friend that sticks closer than a brother, all these things. And He's like, how many of those friends do you not talk to for some time? But when you do, they're just ready and waiting for you to talk.
Yeah.
God's not over here butthurt, Melinda didn't talk to me today.
Like, you didn't
but
call
we
me on
have
my
this-
birthday?
Right. We have this perception that God's gonna get upset like we would, but He's not. He's just waiting for you to be like, all right, so you gonna talk? Not today? All right, cool.
I'll still be here.
He's just waiting.
And I'm going to,
Right.
he
Right.
chooses to still bless you
Yes.
every single
Exactly.
day.
Exactly.
And I deal with that guilty feeling a lot. Because there are some days where I'm just like, I'll sleep until
The last second.
the last
I know.
second where I have
And
to
you gotta
get up.
rush.
And I'm like, I really don't have time to be still and pray. So I'll tell myself oh yeah, I'll pray in the car, but then I hop in the car and then
The brain's
once
going.
Right, yeah.
once I start going, I'm going.
Yeah.
So I deal with that feeling of guilt all the time. But I like how you.
Yeah.
That's actually. A good
I actually
way to-
just remember where it was from. It was from a pastor that I was talking about the story of the prodigal son. He brought it up with when the prodigal son returned, how the father was just
Open arms.
waiting,
Yeah.
literally looking down, and he saw the dude far off and met him
Where he was.
ran out I saw him coming over the horizon. That means he was waiting every day. My son's not home today. All right, my son's not home today.
Maybe tomorrow.
Let him-
He-
Maybe
and
tomorrow.
He
Maybe
went back out
tomorrow.
there every day.
Doesn't
right?
wait for you to even get to the house. Goes and meets you right over there where you are.
That's so deep.
Yeah,
That
that
really
is-
is so deep. And another prayer or I would say a prayer, but I know when I go through my valleys or my malleys, as I told you guys, I call it my mountain valley, right in between. I've learned that God is always going to be there. We don't ever need to go searching for Him. He's always waiting there with a handout. So I just remember telling God, I'm not going to leave you. I might not be in it right now, but I'm not going to leave you. I'm always going to come back to you.
Right.
And that's exactly how I feel it should be in a relationship or in a friendship or whatnot. That's why love is an action. And Natasha said it in the comments, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He gave us an action word, not a feeling. Jesus continued what God initiated by completing his mission of the cross. That's a word.
Facts.
That's a word. And then she also said, God's love is everlasting, merciful, compassionate, gracious, and unconditional. And the unconditional part is really what gets me.
That's what it is.
I understand why people would be crying and breaking down at the altar.
Right, despite
'Cause
of
all the trash that we go through, but God still provides forgiveness. So I think that's beautiful.
So that leads to what I wanted to talk about next, which is what about the pain aspect of love? Because love is not always happy. Love is not always makes you feel good. Sometimes it hurts to love someone, right? So let's talk about those scenarios. One, do you guys think it's still love at that point? If it hurts to love someone, is that still love?
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think it always feels good. The Lord sent his son to die
You die.
for us.
it was a great feeling.
Personally, I have a child, and I'm going to send my son. I'm
Right.
gonna go kill my son. Essentially, my son is
Literally.
gonna die. I don't know. I don't know if I would be able to. So yeah, it's not always a good feeling. I don't think. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely can agree. It does not feel good, and we see examples of that over and over in the Bible. And despite of it, these people were kind of willing to do it despite of that hurt. So you can love out of that, and I think it's a perfect example in the Bible because we see it so many times happening, and it's kind of the example for us to kind of see it and let us know that hey, it's okay to have that feeling.
So in my dating life, I have come to the point where I'm in the mindset of it doesn't have to hurt, and we don't have to go through trials to be like, oh yeah, it's gonna work. Because some people be like, oh, it's gonna be hard in the beginning. Why does that have to be my mindset?
Right.
And be like, oh, I'm gonna make it through. Why does it always have to be, you guys have to get over hurdles? You have to go through some pain and some dirt before you guys get to. But is that the reality? Why can't it just be easy going?
Because life ain't sunshine and roses.
It's not.
Not necessarily
Right,
peaches and cream.
Right.
But why do I have to go through cheating and
No.
being
Oh,
wow.
We're not going that far.
But this is what I'm saying, because some people are like, it may be too good to be true if it's all peaches and cream, right? But why does that have to be our mindset? Why does someone have to mess up in order for us to be like, oh yeah, they might be good.
They might be the
yeah,
one.
they're not
So
too
I
perfect.
don't think especially the cheating and stuff. That's a different. That's going down a different. But I don't necessarily think that you have to deal with certain.
There doesn't need to be a hint of toxicity.
Yeah,
For you to be like,
toxicity is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't need to be toxic for you to feel okay, well, yes, this is the one. And a lot of times, especially today, you see a lot of people, they put up with a lot of toxicity because they feel
That's love.
if we've gone through the
Something,
trenches,
right.
you hear people say it all the time.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, we went through
everything
through the
together, right.
mud.
Okay.
Does
Does that mean it's a healthy? It doesn't mean that it's a healthy relationship.
Should that be
But
the
that's
goal?
why I feel there's kind of two different aspects of going through pain. Because I'm our Christian walk is filled with a whole bunch of pain, but a lot of times those painful moments are to teach us, are to grow
lesson,
us.
right, to
And
grow,
you can
right.
go through that with your partner too. But then there's also the toxic part. So,
Right.
in the church aspect, overexerting yourself, overcommitting to the church, not taking care of yourself. That could be the toxic aspect of the Christian walk.
Not neglecting your family.
Neglecting
For
your
the
family.
church.
Right. And your family, in marriage and with your children, should be your first ministry. So I'm there is kind of two aspects to pain in a relationship.
Okay, so let's go with the relational aspect of things, right? So there is, perfect example. What's that movie called? Acrimony? Right. Okay.
I don't think I ever watched it.
Oh, for real?
What movie?
Acrimony with Taraji.
That's how you know I don't fall for peer pressure, because everybody watched it.
I watched it later. Anyways, Daniel, can you give a synopsis of the movie real quick?
Oh, that's with Taraji, right?
Yes. The one where she like supports him and then.
Oh, and then
See, I can't really remember this.
she
watched
supports
it
him.
once.
I think I've heard it. Let me try. She
And the
supports
comments help us
him
too.
while he's like down and broke. Didn't she pay for his school or something?
Yeah, she like paid, she was bankrolling everything.
And then he became big and left her.
No. I think she left him, and then he became big, and then she was like, "Well, I supported you through all this time. Don't I deserve something? Because it was me that did this."
Oh, see, I ain't
And then
watching.
like the new girl got everything that she wanted, but she left before,
Let's give it
that
to
came
Fatima.
about.
Girl.
But what I was bringing this up for though is like not necessarily because that could go down a whole discussion. I was bringing it up because like in the beginning, right, she is sacrificing a lot, right, in this relationship, and I'm sure like that's kind of the pain aspect, the sacrificial aspect of love, because she loves her man, like she's trying to help him, like she sees that he has ambition, he has this dream and stuff, but like how long or how much of that should someone put up with or deal with in the name of love?
Oh, so Yasmin says basically she supports him and her family convinced her to leave him.
That's
yeah,
a
that
different
is what
aspect
happened.
because
He
now
was so
They were all
focused
talking
on
crap.
building something. That's right. Yes, I remember now.
That's good.
So he was focused on building something long term, and that he was and he wasn't focusing
Yeah.
on the relationship. So he was focusing on the long term, but kind of neglecting
Yeah.
the here and
I
now.
do
Yeah.
remember that.
But then that's kind of like, that goes to show that you can't always let people into your relationship and show them your pain and everything you're going through, because now what if she would have stayed with him? She
But
would have
it-
been reaping the benefits.
It may not necessarily even be pain though that she may have felt, because a lot of times when we take advice from other people who are on the outside looking in, they may be the ones to actually start to cloud your judgment. Like whatever you have going on over here, and you guys, it works for you guys, and then somebody comes like,
And all of a sudden
that's
you
a li-
overthinking.
you're the female who's working and he's doing what he's doing, but you have a friend and they come, or a family member, and they come and they're like, you shouldn't be the one, you're the breadwinner. Like then they start to put things in your
I am
mind.
the breadwinner. You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And then now you start to look at your situation from before. It was like, okay, this is what we both decided, and now it's
Like
like
there's a goal, and now it's like,
now you're feeling some kind of way because he's not working, but you knew that he wasn't going to work. You knew
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
building whatever he was building. So yeah, a lot of people, you got to be real careful.
I just
about the
want
outside judgment.
to go back in this comment. What Brenda said, she said, love shouldn't fluctuate with feelings.
Yes.
And that's true, because that goes back to say, like, if she really loved him, she shouldn't have let that feeling of anger be like, oh, I'm gonna divorce you, or like leave you.
It's true. You're gonna have bad days. So that's I just remember, like that's what I was gonna say to you when you were saying that stuff, like, oh, why does it have to be that you go through something and stuff? No, I feel like it's the same thing in your Christian walk. Like the only way you're gonna grow is if you go through something, and that doesn't mean it has to be like toxic stuff or like cheating, but like, you know, you're gonna have disagreements. You're gonna have like times where you don't feel like in that lovey-dovey space and stuff. And it's like, okay, how do you get past that? How do you overcome this?
Yeah.
And like that's the part that I feel like people talk about when they're like, yeah, you got to go through something. If you're a couple that hasn't gone through those things, and it's been a period of time, because the honeymoon phase definitely is a thing, right? But if it's been that phase like past, and somehow there still isn't any type of conflict, then I would feel like you're both probably doing a good job of trying to
masking.
Yeah,
right?
masking
Like
it.
let this roll off me. It doesn't actually affect me, and eventually.
But now you have this rug that's
Exactly.
like has all this dirt under it.
It looks
And-
like a mound.
And
Eventually
one day
pile up.
it's just gonna,
Yeah, it's
everything is
gonna
gonna
pile
come
up.
back.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you said something that I was gonna say and I forgot. Never mind.
Yeah, it'll come back up just like this came up.
So that goes into the question that you asked earlier. How long could you go on loving without reciprocity or appreciation?
For having it returned to you, in a sense. Well, I think to kind of answer that question, we have to figure out the root cause of that. So why did that happen in the first place? Why aren't you receiving that love or getting that love back, right? So if it was something that you were receiving before, why did it all of a sudden stop? Like, what's going on with your partner? Is there something going on at work? Is there something going on in their family? Is there something going on with them, you know? So I think once we can kind of figure out the issue, what's going on with the person that's not giving it, if they're used to, I think we can better be able to answer that question, right? So if it's out of the norm, then we can figure out what's going on with that person while we're not receiving it, and then kind of go from there to figure out, hey, you used to, touch me or show me love all the time or do certain things, but now you've stopped. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. And I think it also depends on love languages.
Right.
Because for me, my love language is words of affirmation. So I overanalyze people's tones. Like, especially if I'm talking to someone, like, why did your tone switch up? Like, are you gonna drop me? So let me drop you first type of thing. Like, that's how I feel. So yeah, you kind of, I think knowing your person's love language does help you, like, love them better. But then also knowing how to receive someone else's love, because learning their love language, I usually feel like people's love language is also how they're able to show love the most. So like, if I'm not getting words of affirmation because he just knows how to show acts of service best, I kind of have to meet him halfway and be like, thank you for doing that. Here's what I need. Yeah. But then I think, the part where, like you said, we kind of have to be understanding of the other person. Like, okay, maybe the reason you switched up isn't because of me. Maybe you are going through something that I'm not aware of. So let me try to figure it out. But then if that's just going on for a period of time where I'm trying to reach out to you and trying to help you get through stuff, and you're still not reciprocating it or showing me that you want me to be let in or just opening up at all, I don't know how long that's going.
Right. that's a tough one. Like,
I know, but if we're talking about how love is not a feeling and stuff, and like, shouldn't it just...
But then I'm not receiving the action of love. If I'm not receiving words of affirmation, acts of service,
but
all of the 5...
That's why our love as humans is conditional.
I agree to that.
Our love is very conditional.
It's definitely not giving
I don't, because a lot of what you just said, and I'm not like, because I deal with the same thing if I don't get it. But it's a lot of what you said is, if I don't get X, Y, Z, I, but it's very conditional. I have to receive something in order to get, and which is what we're asking. Like,
that's how it works.
How long? But the Lord don't work like that.
Thank God.
We don't.
right.
And the Lord does not work like that. And honestly, like, when I was looking over the questions, I was like, man, thank God. He doesn't work like that, because
we would have been dropped.
Oh, yeah.
Left in the desert.
Definitely.
Gone with the wind.
Dust could put all of us just out, white. Because even a simple testimony, a lot of times we ask people to give testimonies, and it's like pulling teeth. We can't show simple appreciation for like the small things. We always go, thank the Lord I'm alive.
He kept me.
I'm sure, like, he's done so much throughout the week, and we always go back to like the basic things. So yeah, that's we show love very. It's very conditional.
Yeah. Gavin said our love is conditional. That's why communication is essential. Communication is very essential.
Right.
Like, if we don't communicate, what are we doing? Because you're going to be staring at me and I'm going to be staring at you?
Right.
You can go forward with a lot of assumptions if you don't communicate, because you're like, oh, this is what this is giving, and you're going to take that as fact when it might not be that. It might just be the perception of that.
Right.
That's
Communicating with the intent to understand what the other person is saying. Because I feel like a lot of times we focus so much on communication that we can have a conversation.
Right.
And whatever you say, I'm ready to respond. I didn't even let what you said sink. As soon as it touched my ear, I was like, well, hold on, because I'm ready to jump. So a lot of times we have to focus on like actively listening to what someone is saying.
That's what I was just about to say, active listening.
As opposed to responding off rip. A lot of time, like for me, I'm a type of person, I write things down. I will text it. Right. I'm better with like sending a message to communicate how I feel, because then I'm able to express
yourself
without interruption.
Right.
Because a lot of times I get to the person, we're having a conversation, and you say something, now I want to respond to what you're saying. So it's just like, I feel like that time to, I give you, you read what I say, process, and then respond, or even vice versa.
So even sometimes in those messages, like you can write a whole 5-paragraph essay, but they'll focus on one
thing.
Like, so you're saying
you can't ask men more than one thing, because they will focus only on one thing.
Like, what you mean?
The very last thing to be specific. Whatever you said.
So what do you mean?
Everything prior to the last sentence is like Charlie Brown.
But to your point, to be a more effective communicator, when someone's expressing something to you, like what I always try to do is say it back to them. So what you're trying to say is X, Y, and Z. And then they can be like, oh, no, I meant da 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 da, and rehash that conversation. So that way you can kind of eliminate that idea of rebutting to something that they didn't say at all, or how they meant it, or how it came across. So I try to do that, like active listen. So I do a lot of that at work, to listen to customers and what they need. And then I kind of regurgitate it back to them. So you wanted to do this, this, and this. And they'll be like, yes, but, and they'll go more in depth. So I try to implement that when I have conversations in that way.
And I'm sure, and I want to ask you this, like, give a percentage of the amount of times that you did active listening like that, and what you thought was wrong, and they had to correct you.
Oh, like, I want to say a good 65-70% of the time.
Wow.
But most of the
time,
we get
a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm also a writer, so and I'm also like, I will cut you off. But if I'm trying not to, I will take notes as the person's talking. And sometimes if I feel like I'm heated, I'll just be like, okay, we'll talk about this later. And then I'll write my stuff out. But I've learned that I don't really like having strong conversations through text message, because you leave the room for error in tone.
Tone is
so I'll write my notes down, and I'm like, all right, I need to talk. And then I'll call, and then I'll be reading my notes.
Right.
And just to make sure that I hit every point and let them know that whatever I'm feeling, like, they'd get every aspect. So I'm not leaving anything out, so I don't remember 2 months later, and I'm like, and another thing.
We just had this conversation 2 months ago.
Yeah. And then I also, with active listening, that's why I'm also like, tell me the whole cold truth, even if it hurts my feelings. Because my goal is to not have the feelings, drag me away from you. I'm going to have to eat that, and we're going to have to try to work on it. Right. Like I shared this post today that was like, it's you and your partner against the issue.
Say that.
It's not you and your partner against each other. So like the goal, even if I'm hurt in the moment, is for us to fix it and tackle whatever's in between us.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about some things that can cast a shadow over our ability to show or receive genuine love. So one that's like, the first one that comes to mind is like past hurt, right? Like that's usually like the first thing that trauma that comes to mind when you think about, okay, because this happened to me in my past, like now I have a chip on my shoulder, like you're easily triggered by something, Right. So how how does that necessarily affect? Like, let's get a little nitty gritty, and then how can we overcome those things?
Ooh, someone said low self-esteem.
This is true.
And that is a big one.
That is true. You might not feel like you're deserving of that love.
Right.
Because the first person you have to love is yourself, right? So once you do that, I think you'll be more willing to kind of accept it from others as well. So, but to answer the first point of your question, how that kind of starts, it could be, like you said, that trauma from how you felt. Maybe your parents never gave that love to you when you were younger, or something happened to you that made you not want to receive love anymore. If you guys can read between the lines, you know what I'm saying? So something happened to you where you got hurt when you were younger. That could have happened to someone, and they might not want to receive love from anyone, in their family or outside of their family. But to kind of combat that, like how we were talking about earlier, therapy, right? That's a great way to kind of start to get those emotions out, to get those feelings out, and to see how you can kind of learn how to receive that love, because you're never going to get over kind of what happened to you, right? You just learn how to live with it and how to cope with it and how to get a better grip of that reality or what you're going through. So once you go through that process of realizing, hey, I can, deal with this or learn how to deal with it and go to therapy and get those answers that I need to help myself and heal myself so I can be able to receive that love from others as well.
Yeah. I think we need to remember a lot of times when you're dealing with like low self-esteem and stuff, I think it's essential to remember that who you belong to.
Right.
And it's easier said than done, because especially in today's society where it's easy to compare yourself to,
especially with social media.
Yeah, a lot of people. These people have this and you don't have that. You aren't where you thought you would be, or whatever the case is. So it's easy to have low self-esteem and be real down in the dumps. But you really have to remember like who you belong to. Like God created you. You have to, it really gets down to that beginning, like starting from the bottom, like, okay, he created me this way, like he didn't make a mistake.
Right, for a reason.
This is how all these things, the way he created me, and then all these things in life that happened, he saw these things where they were going to be like in a part of my life, they were going to shape me to be where I am, but you have to find in him, like finding your way. Don't try to find it on your own.
Agreed. And Kira in the comments, she said, God only creates masterpieces. And that's truly facts. And I like relating our relationship with Christ as our father to like our earthly father.
Right.
If my father is not going to play about me, why would I play about myself?
Yeah.
Like, why am I going to present myself as someone that like doesn't have a backbone, that just can't handle stuff or just can't be open to receive? Like, I want to be who God created me to be. I want to be able to receive what he has for me and not be shut up. So that just goes to like agree with you. Like, God's not going to play about me. Oh, I was wearing that shirt this week. Can I just say,
Right.
Well, I'm not going to say the story. But I was wearing the shirt that said, God don't play about me.
Right.
Just to tell people, he really does not play about me. And he's going to be 10 toes down for me, so I'm going to be 10 toes down for myself. So that whoever is ready to receive me and I'm ready to receive them, they could be 10 toes down for me and for us.
A good verse I found this week, it was Psalms 139, 13 and 14 is the New Living Translation. You made all the delicate inner parts of my body and knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it.
Sounds like a masterpiece.
It really sounds like what Kiara was talking about, a great masterpiece.
I like that verse that was like, like before, like you knew me before, like you formed me. And I heard a preacher like frame it in the forms of like, like you had a prenatal purpose, like before you're even like there.
Right. God knows how many hairs on the top of your head and
all that stuff.
That's insane.
Yeah, and he's dead serious. Like these are the things that I'm like, like when people ask like, can you take the Bible literally or not? I'm like, no, he literally knows this. Like, this is not a joke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like he knows the hairs on my head.
Right.
Yeah.
I got a lot.
But other than low self-esteem, though, what are some other things that can shadow our ability to show genuine love?
I think if someone hasn't received genuine love or doesn't have a perception of it, like whether from their family, whether it's from God or something like that. So like, no, they haven't necessarily been hurt or like experienced trauma like that, but if they don't have an example, how are they going to give what they haven't seen?
Right.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, they've been told all their life that, they're not worthy of it. That could be another thing too. So words do hurt. They do form lasting traumas more so than physical wounds, right? So something that someone can say to you can last forever, for a lifetime, and you can always replay that in your head and go through that process. Meanwhile, you're doing very great for yourself as a person.
But you can't even see it.
Exactly. You can't even see it.
And I think that's happening a lot in today's society. So I would say society can affect people's ability to like receive love, because for instance, like all these girls are on, I'm independent, or they're on the wave of, he needs to buy me everything, and if he don't buy me everything, then I'm not gonna go for him.
Right.
But this man is genuinely here trying to love you,
Right.
and you over here worried about if you're gonna get a Prada purse. Like, so I just think, and then society also has the influence on men where it's like, go for multiple women, like marriage. I've been hearing like marriage is just a piece of paper, like don't do it.
I've been hearing that. Somebody called me delusional
so run me your
earlier
$100
this
bills.
week. They were
It's
It's
just
just a piece of paper, right?
So, but then if that's the case, then why get married for a piece of paper? I don't understand it.
They said it's a lot of people say it's a business, and it's there are benefits to it.
So I understand that.
Yeah.
For the people that will just get the piece of paper. But there's a lot of people out here spending 20, 30, 40K on these
On a
marriages. So for it to be a business, well, that's a bad business
Right.
decision.
It's a bad investment.
What?
But to kind of lead to a point that you kind of brought up, Melinda, I think now in social media, what's going on, I guess, in this generation, it's a lot of times people, it's like a badge of honor to like not care or have the least amount of friends or have a small circle or, oh, I don't really hang around people. Like, I'm standoffish. Like,
so
you know what I'm
ugly.
saying? It's like,
It's so ugly.
I'm like, so you're basking in the fact that you don't have a lot of friends, you don't have a big circle, you can't count on people, people can't count on you, like you're the only realist person in your circle, and they're never the issue either. It's like it's always everybody is always the issue.
So everybody else is
and never
crazy,
them. Right,
except
except you, right?
Okay.
So
And when you're the common denominator.
right, when you're the common denominator, that's always in drama, always in something, but it's never your fault. So I don't know, like this generation is just proud of not having friends, of not having people around them, or being genuine. So I never really understood that. Like I would like the fact to say that, hey, I have a lot of friends, I have people I can count on, I'm a friendly person, I'm not mean, I'm not judgmental or anything like that. So I would rather be proud about that than having the latter.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Naomi. You reading comments?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So Sister Hunt had said what you've been taught, which is a big one.
That's true.
What you see, you replicate what you see. And then Gavin says narcissism can hinder the reception of love.
That's a good one.
Ooh. Narcissism
We've
is
seen a lot of
That's
narcissists out
toxic.
there lately.
I feel like
heavy.
narcissism directly leads to toxicity.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's giving
Yeah.
emotional abuse and everything that falls underneath that.
But what was crazy to me with like narcissism is that person really will not see that. Like other
Because
ones,
they're in
might-
their feelings.
Right. The other
They
ones
love that person.
It's more than being in their feelings when it
Oh, you
comes to
saying the narcissist
narcissism.
doesn't
Yeah,
see
the
it.
narcissist,
Oh, my bad.
yeah.
I thought you meant
Like-
the person who's in the relationship with them.
No. Because like I feel like let's say like you've been through like trauma or like or something like that. You're aware of this, most likely, and like you know that it hinders you. You just might not be working on that, right? But for a narcissist, like they will genuinely not think they're doing anything wrong, and you can't tell them otherwise.
Yeah,
like,
no.
They in their head.
No, they see everybody as the issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the problem, because how do you reach that person? How do you get through? How do you
No,
get
that's
Honestly, I
that's
think
a
it takes-
genuine question that
I think it
always
takes
ask.
a traumatic event
Yeah,
for them
that's
to be like,
unfortunate.
oh snap, everybody was really trying to love me and I pushed everybody
They
away.
need a Damascus Road experience.
But hopefully, not every situation has to lead to a traumatic event.
Right.
But into our next question, guys. How would you, let me phrase it this way. How would you work through the pain of, relationships and like moving on from relationships? How do you differentiate a lesson learned and being scarred? Like, how do you tell yourself, hey, this is what I learned from this relationship, and not letting it have a hold on you? Like, oh no, I just went through so much pain and I can never go there again.
I think
Okay, I
it's
see.
I think it's your mentality. You have to actively seek the lesson in things and not always trying to just be the victim in a situation. Because it's easy, like, you've been hurt, so it's easy to just be like, oh, okay, well, I was hurt, this person hurt me, so I'm just gonna carry that and be bitter. I think you actively have to seek. No one's perfect. You made mistakes in the relationship, just like the person did. So,
And I think it does no good to hold on to that pain. like, if I'm going to be hurting from this, I might as well learn something from it,
Right.
too. Like, what went wrong? What could I do different in the next relationship? Or what could I also look for in another person that's also different? So my friend recently asked me, like, why am I single? And I was like, honestly, because I was putting too much effort into these guys when I should have snapped out of it quicker. Like, I completely have learned the lesson that, yeah, they might not have been putting in the effort, but I allowed that.
Right.
So it's like, you do have to, you know, separate your emotions, get out of your feelings, and be like, okay, God, what am I trying to learn in this season?
Right.
What are you trying to show me? What is the lesson now so that I can do better in the future?
Kind of taking that accountability.
Yeah.
Judith, that's exactly what you said, accountability. Like, you gotta sometimes hold yourself accountable. I'll say this, because this is something that I definitely struggle with. Like, I mentioned earlier in the episode, like, I don't necessarily, like, show
Express,
too much.
yeah.
So someone, I say this a lot, someone said this. Thanks for the same statement, you guys.
Plagiarism.
No, but someone said it's like, oh, you have to feel your feelings. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
duh. But, like, that really stuck with me because I don't. Like, I'll have feelings and I will try to skirt them. Like, I'll try to get around them. Like, put that on the back burner. Like,
my gosh,
if I'm
Andre.
sad, I don't want to feel sad. What can I do to not feel sad?
Yeah.
Like, I'll do those things.
Right.
Like, if I'm angry, I don't want to express this anger. I don't want to come across as angry. So, like, what can I do to not, like, show this or express this or feel this at this time? So, and that leads to, like, you never actually resolve, like, these
The
issues.
issue.
Like, you have to feel the feelings.
That's so crazy because I'm the complete opposite. Like, I will force myself to feel the feelings to get over it quicker.
Heck no.
Because I'm like, if I hold on to this and don't allow myself to feel it, I'm just going to be deteriorating on the inside. So if I could just
Push
push
it
these
down.
feelings, I will purposely listen to sad songs to make myself cry.
You,
Or I'll like
sorry.
feel like, or I'll just, I don't know what's wrong. I just feel like I need a good cry. I will go cry.
Right.
Because, like, let me just allow my body to feel what it's feeling so that it can heal quicker.
Right. It's funny you say that. I was literally watching a show today, and a part of it, the therapist told them to literally take 15 minutes out of your day, let the emotions that you're feeling last, listen to a song or do something or put yourself in a vulnerable position, cry for those 15 minutes, set an alarm, cry, and then move on. Keep doing that continuously each day or each time you have that feeling until it disappears.
gone.
Yeah. So it's insane that you just said that.
Crying is actually a form of relieving stress. So you guys should do it.
Sounds like torture.
Honestly.
What I heard was take 15 minutes out of your day, torture yourself,
To torture
and
yourself.
then keep moving.
It's funny that you brought up feelings. I don't like to feel my feelings. I don't like to admit when I've been hurt. I like to act like people cannot hurt me. So
Let's give him Brooklyn.
the latter part of last year, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to start feeling my feelings. I'm gonna have to start allowing myself to acknowledge that I have been hurt, because essentially it was doing me no good. I wasn't bitter, but I like you said, I wasn't facing what I was going through. So essentially I was just torturing myself, actually, if I'm being honest.
Look what you look at that.
I was torturing
The real
myself.
torture.
So I had a conversation with myself, and I ended up praying about it. I prayed about it a lot last year, and I would verbalize. It was to the point where I, like my close friends, because I don't really like to tell everybody, yeah, my feelings are hurt. So I have like two friends where I would text them, and I would tell her, like, if something happened, I'm like, such and such happened, this is what this person did. And I just had to get it all. I had to say it.
Yeah,
I would
vent,
make
yeah,
myself,
vent, yeah.
no, not even vent. I had to make myself say it. Like, this person hurt my feelings.
Right.
Like, I'm hurt by what this person did. I made myself say it. And she responded, she's like, after she read the message, I said, sorry, I just had to say it. She goes, yeah, I figured. she's like, don't worry about it. But it's funny enough, she's the same way, so it works.
Right.
But yeah, really forcing yourself to feel those feelings, to navigate how you respond to things because pushing them down, what was happening was I was combusting after a while. So like, and I wouldn't know, or I would get those moments where I just, so many emotions at once, and now I just want to cry out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere, just like.
For what? What am I crying for?
Because your body's telling you need to release.
Somebody would be like, what's wrong with you? I have no, and then I'm just like, tears. What?
I purposely, if I am in a season where I am literally just crying every day, I purposely won't look people in the eyes. Because I feel like if they look me in the eyes, they can see me and see that I need some help. And then I will like start crying in front of people. And I try not to do that.
You're gonna be a concerning pregnant person.
Absolutely.
Because if this
Or
is
I might be
happening,
the opposite.
if this is happening now,
You
oh my
know,
God.
people are like, Melinda, you're a crybaby. Well, joke's on you because at least I can cry.
But no, I am. Yeah.
Right. Have y'all ever seen those like movies or shows and people go on like a cliff or a mountain and they like just yell? And I was like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Or like
They're getting it out.
Right.
Release
Or
it.
they like
Yeah.
fill up a sink and they like yell into it with like a sink with water or whatever. And I was like, what are they doing? So I guess it's always that release. I never understood it now. Well, I understood it back then, but now I kind of get why they're doing it, to kind of like release that. They had so much bottled up. They kind of just needed to get that anger or that frustration out, or that feeling like out there and express it so it goes somewhere else, instead of keeping it inside of them, and then usually see like they look or feel better in the end.
So, Kiara says, I believe being in touch with my feelings will allow me to talk to my future children through their feelings. That's so important to me because I didn't have that. And Judith says crying is good for the soul.
That's my
Agreeing
cousin.
with
Hey,
Melinda.
cousin.
But what you said, that actually just...
Wait, I wanted to say something to
biology.
Kiara's point. No, because Kiara's point is actually
Valid.
It's very valid. You do find, like especially in our community, you don't really deal with like a lot of talking through feelings, and I feel like that's where a lot of
We get it from.
that we are such stoic beings because a lot of our parents did not have that. It's very rare that you'll find like the older generation that had the parents that like sat down and like, so like, let me know, or hey,
Let's
how
talk
are you?
about this.
How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Or,
What?
I noticed your shoulders are up in the sky. Like, what's going on? A lot of our parents didn't have that. So the fact that she's willing to, she wants to be in touch. That is huge.
To be the change, to
Yeah.
break the cycle.
Safe space for your kids to express themselves and their emotions, to being able to just talk to your parents. Like, yeah, that's a very good point, because I don't think I really had that when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about your feelings and emotions. I don't think we.
I think my mom does really well with expressing or trying to see how we're feeling, for her not having that growing
Same.
up. Although if we express ourselves, she might respond in a yelling tone.
Same.
But it's because she
Very
loves
much
it.
same.
That's just her form of communication, and like we hear her out at the end of the day. But I am grateful for that aspect, because she didn't have that growing up,
Yeah.
and a lot of us didn't. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom, she did. Both my parents, they, but my mom more so. They tried to offer that, but I don't know. I just wasn't. That's my brother's thing. I wasn't really the one to like. Well, since you're asking, let me just divulge all my feelings.
Nothing.
Yeah, I'm more so the person, like, I have to deal with things by myself. So what I found within the last 2 years, actually, while going through like, what you call them, your valleys?
Valley.
Actually, it's valleys. When I was going through my valleys, I would actively seek out reading devotionals.
Looking for some
Yeah.
encouragement.
Yeah,
uplifting
I would
stuff.
actively find devotionals pertaining to how I was feeling to help me get out of, like, I wouldn't want to be, I don't think I've ever been depressed, honestly. So I didn't want to get there, so I would actively like seek out devotions to help me make sure I don't get there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so you're
That's
kind of
how-
doing that preventative, sorry to cut you off, that preventative
Yeah.
maintenance before you got to the point. So you try to fix it before it even gets there to where you have to put more work into it.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I came to the decision that I needed to face my feelings. I had to talk with the Lord.
So there's some different ways that you can, express yourself, get it all out there. Like when CJ was talking about, like, that scene from the movie, like they go up on the cliff and they start yelling, whether it's crying. Like for me, I realized, and I didn't actually do this, I really wanted to. When I was in dental school, that was a tough time for me. And there would be a lot of days where I just, real bad. And that was, the idea came to my brain and I was like, man, I would love to go to one of those places where you just go in and just start breaking everything in sight. Like a rage room.
they have
a rage
those.
room. They
I
have
was
those
like,
here, yeah.
I
wanted to do that for my
bonding trip.
birthday,
I was
remember?
like, I need this. Like, I just need to go there and
Yeah.
start,
Breaking stuff.
A rage room.
Like, I'm not gonna, like, necessarily, like, cry or, like,
It's just
talk
release.
about it, but,
Would you
That.
write about it?
huh? Would I what?
Would you write about it?
No. Because I'm not trying to feel it.
If you write it, you're sitting with it.
I'm just gotta be like, oh, so what else?
So,
But nah,
Andre, I actually feel you on that. Like, I hate writing. That's literally the first thing I told my therapist. I hate writing.
I like it.
He's like, well, you're going to be writing. so,
Good luck with that.
right. So, yeah, one of the first assignments he gave me was like, I had to write out some things I was going through in my childhood. And then I had to read it to him. And then he gave me, with that,
Dang, you had to read it?
yes, I had to read it to him. So I had,
Oh,
right. So I had to read it to him. Honestly, it wasn't that bad. It didn't feel like torture as I was reading it. It felt like more of a release in that sense.
Really?
Because I actually had to physically write it out. I asked him, can I type it? He said no. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
better if you write it out
Oh,
so you
dang.
can be in tune with the emotions
Yeah.
with each, like, stroke of your pencil and all that stuff. So,
Pen to paper, and
Right.
the tears start falling.
I can't.
well, I
tell
didn't
you-
do all of that, but.
No, that's what happens with me.
Right. So I did that and I had to read it to him. And then he said, now good. After today, read it to someone that you trust. Because ultimately at
cow.
the end, that trauma,
Right.
that trauma that you're feeling on that paper, you have to read it to that person.
Yeah.
So you have to release it to them like, hey, I don't necessarily need your feedback or anything with it. I'm just going to read this to you and I'm releasing it at the end of the day. So
Man,
that's
you
what.
scared the crap out of me, man. Oh my god. That's
Like,
like
when he said that, I was like, wait, I got to read this to who?
I'm over here at level 1.
But
Yes.
is that
Right.
if you had a spouse, would you feel comfortable enough to share that with your spouse?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
But what if, like, the spouse is the issue? But that's why I always think it's, like,
awkward.
good to have, like,
Right.
one
You said-
really good friend
Right.
or, like, a sibling or something that you can truly, truly trust.
Right,
and you
right,
know
right.
they are your treasure chest.
right.
Because it's
Your
like,
spouse
you
should
can
do
pray,
Mm-hmm.
but,
No?
I feel like God also gave us each other so that we are able to express to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you feel like if there's an issue with your spouse and you need to vent about your spouse, you're going to go to your spouse?
No. Well,
You shouldn't be talking to someone
else about your spouse.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if it's a trusted person, like someone you've known for years, and you know that it depends on how tough the issue
I was
is.
like, I could get you in trouble.
That depends. It can get you.
I would
there's-
say it
I think
depends on the issue.
It depends on the issue.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, but if you're in an abusive relationship, you might need someone else to help
Right.
you
Sure,
realize.
sure.
So it's certain things you should, and there's certain things that need to be.
extreme.
I'm just because it takes
mean-
the extreme to get you guys to understand. Quite frankly. But Andre, do you want to read the next question? I have something that I want to read before.
Which question we get? How do we overcome?
Yeah.
All right, so the next question is, how do I overcome things in my past that have held me back from experiencing love or being able to give love? And we want to hear you guys in the comments too. Let us
Right.
know
Yes, please,
what are
guys.
some of these tips that we can take to be able to break these strongholds,
So while we're waiting for some responses to come in, Rashani actually texted me, and she said seasons come and go, so you have to take your lesson and use it in the next season.
Yes.
But she said you have to go head first always, whether it hurts or not. I always say pain and sadness is always temporary, especially if you gave everything you could. Love should always outweigh the bad.
Very
that.
much snaps.
Yeah, I think that's my approach on some things. Well, majority of everything too. That's why I'm like, okay, let me get out of this season fast, feel my emotions, and like move on, because that's what's gonna help me get further or like grow, you know? And that's how I would want to be. I'm not gonna say that's how I am gonna be in my marriage, but that's how I would want to be able to like express what I'm feeling with my spouse, tell them what's wrong, feel the emotions that I need to feel, and then we both get over it and work on it to progress and like learn to love each other better and, you know, just work through those feelings and not automatically give up.
Okay. You guys have any other tips over there?
Could you repeat the question
All right, so the question is, how do I overcome things in my past that have held me back from experiencing love or being able to give love? So like we were talking about, like the traumas, being a narcissist, not having an example of love in your life, those things. Like, how do you overcome that? Because now we've identified what it is that's preventing us from experiencing that. Like, how do we
get over it?
Now? Yeah.
Well, I hate to be the dead horse, but therapy. Like, I mean, that's always a great place to start. You know, if you don't know how to figure out your emotions in your situations, that's always a great place to start. Or even if you're in that situation, and you know someone that wants to give you love, you can, I don't know, I guess you can try to receive that love from that person to see if it's something that you could even potentially do, right? But I would always say therapy is always that first step you can kind of take to kind of guide yourself and to feel better.
Yeah. Then I also feel for the people who may not be able to get therapy, like just find a way to, like first I think it takes us to realize that, like Danny was saying, like I'm hurt, like what is wrong, like why am I feeling this way? Try to find a way to help yourself realize what you're going through, what you've been through, and you know, take accountability and to just put in the work, and therapy would help. But then, you know, that's why you also should have a good surrounding circle to like help you get through things. Like no one should ever go through things alone. So just like also just try to change the environment you're in, like the people you surround yourself with.
That's a good thought.
Geez, why does this keep happening to me? When you said accountability, I think that's a major one. That's a major part of it. Because then holding yourself accountable, a lot of times we don't like to acknowledge the fact that we may not even be giving the right people our time and attention. You know, I have a lot of self-talk moments, and I've had to come to terms with a lot. Like, you need to do better with choosing better people. I had to tell myself that. I know what I have to offer, and I know what I'm looking for. But then I also had to ask God to help me, like,
become the person
Yeah.
someone else is looking for.
so yeah.
Right.
So there's also that accountability, because you, in your head, you're like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. I have the love.
Right.
But what if, and everybody else around you is crazy, but there's obviously something that you need to work on within yourself too. So that accountability piece is huge.
We have some responses in the comments. Sister Hunt says, address the problem/issue before heading on to the next relationship. That is big. A lot of us will like break out of one relationship and we're like,
into
that
another.
was trash. Glad that's over with. Ooh, you looking nice. And like they'll bring the same
issues
same
into the
problem.
next.
And that's
the
why
issue was them.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, like, you really have to, in the season of singleness. Let me tell y'all about the season
She's
of
speaking to
singleness.
someone out there.
If you honestly do your season of singleness correctly, you can learn a lot. I've learned a lot the past 2 years intentionally, because I was like, okay, I have something within me has to change.
Yeah.
Right.
My mentality has to change. But in your season of singleness, you really have to start being intentional.
This is true. This is true. All right, let me read a couple more comments, and then I wanna add something to that. So Judith says, acknowledging what the issue is and allowing yourself to be vulnerable and open to change. Vulnerable, yeah, that's something I definitely gotta work on too.
Vulnerability.
I tell you, it's a struggle for me, guys. And Tashina says, I think we have to learn to recognize patterns. I think God will continue to give us the same tests until we learn our lesson.
Yeah.
Yes, He will.
Yes, he does.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Those Israelites weren't supposed to wander for that long. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
40 years? It's supposed to be
crazy.
1 week.
And it's the same. It's literally the same thing over and
Same
over and
thing
over
and over.
We were having this
God.
conversation at work, and this girl was saying, she's like, I don't know why this keeps happening to me. And I was like,
You're not learning it.
I was like, there's a lesson that you're not learning. And she
Right.
was like, you think so? I was like, no, I know so.
She's probably doing the same thing over and
I was
over.
like, and she was doing this. She's like, yeah. She's like, I don't get it. Why this keeps, she's like, it's the same thing. And I was like, yeah, because you keep making the same choices every time.
I will
That's the
give
definition of
myself
insanity.
as an example. I'm talking years ago, like I must have been in high school. My brother sent me this like sermon series, and I don't even remember what it was called, but I remember that was the first time I heard like the pastor was presenting this whole concept of like you have to become what the person you're looking for is looking for, right? And he had a radical call to action at the end. He was like, look, I need you to be single for a year. And that's where he lost me. Mind you, I was already single at this point, right?
Wow.
But he
So
said, be
what's a
single
year?
for a year. I said, what the, a whole year? But his point was like, during this year, I need you to be single for a year and be intentional on doing these things, like becoming what the person looking for is looking for. And he's like, find out what those things are. And each month, like have check-ins, like you're supposed to like, at the end of a year, you're supposed to become that person, right? I was like, a year? I don't know about that. The person comes.
You were already single.
I was already single. Now, mind you, this is the funny part of this. Fast forward some more years. I'm in college or dental school now, and me and Shane had started like reading books together, and we come across this book, and I'm like, this seems familiar. It turns out it's by this same guy. And so like from the first chapter, I was like, oh no. Like I was like, this is the guy. And here I am years later, I have not learned my lesson. I've been single that whole time. So like,
See, had you done the work for the year, you could have already
like,
been
I'm
in
here
a
like,
relationship.
man, 1 year I can't do that. And this is years later and I was still single. So should have just done the work. Stop wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. Like, do the work, guys.
supposed to take 40 years.
Well, thank God it wasn't 40 years for you. So.
Do we have any more comments? Not yet. Okay. Well, we want to kind of tie this thing home a little bit. So I think we need to address, in order to accept love, in order to be able to give love properly, we've got to look at who is the perfect example of that, and that's God. Like we have
God
to.
is love.
He
Rev
is love,
run.
right? So like we have to look at like not only how he gave love and like how loving he is and how like his love is unconditional. These are all like amazing things about God, and we want our love to model this fashion, but we also need to learn how to accept God's love. And I think that's something that especially if you were raised Christian, a lot of us honestly don't know how to accept God's love because we say these things, but then the way we act is as if God is a tit for tat kind of God. Like we need to accept, like not only learn how to give unconditional love, but learn how to accept unconditional love. Like, no, I don't deserve this. No, like I have made mistakes, but no, God still loves me. Like you got to be able to say these things in those moments when you have like that guilt feeling, because God doesn't give guilt. That's the devil, right? He's whispering those things like, you messed up again. You gonna pray after you just messed up?
Boy, he's not gonna want to hear from you,
Exactly.
and that's not him. Yeah.
Right. God is literally waiting.
Right. So like we have to learn how to accept that. And then I think that's going to allow us to be able to better give that, because we're gonna be so appreciative, like, no, oh my gosh, like I don't deserve this, but like, no, I am still a child of God.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, God. Like,
Right.
I'm overflowing with this love for other people now. Like I think it needs to start one step back.
Right.
Yeah.
No, a few steps.
Take some steps back. Rewind a little
At
bit.
the ground level, but a dying to self is, which ultimately leads to obedience. That is love. That's how we show God love. Once we
die
die,
daily.
we start killing our flesh, we start to become obedient. That's what he wants. So, and that's
all he asked
how
for.
we show. That's how we show our love. I respect you. I love you. So this is what I'm gonna. This is what you ask, and this is what I'm gonna do. It's a selfless act.
So with that being said, would you guys say that love is just a feeling?
Nah.
No.
Nah.
Yeah, I think we can all come to the conclusion.
Feelings are very wishy-washy.
Yeah, feelings
Fleeting.
change over time, right?
I can feel hungry. I shouldn't be able to put hungry and love on the same level. You know?
Feel hungry.
Just love might be a little bit more elevated, you know.
But remember, like, love is selfless, and that's also loving yourself properly and knowing that you're worthy of receiving that same love.
Yeah.
Like, love isn't just a feeling for yourself, because I know people do struggle with, like, oh, I'm not loving myself right now. No, learning self-love and learning the consistency of love with a spouse, with friends, with a family. We don't want to deal with our siblings half the time. But, you know, we still love them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, love isn't just a feeling in every single aspect.
Right.
Like, every single, like, even if you love your job, in order to keep it, you have to remain consistent. So I'm like, yeah, love is just not just a feeling.
No, it's
way more than that.
It's an action. You have to
Definitely.
put forth that effort every single day,
Yeah.
in despite of everything that you encounter. It's you just have to get it done.
Alrighty, guys. So I think we are all done for tonight. Thank you guys again for joining us and tuning into this topic. Always leave comments. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And before we go, I'm going to ask Andre to lead us out in prayer.
All right, let's pray, guys. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you that you have brought us to the end of another week. We want to thank you for all the things that you brought us through this week, both good and bad. We know that it was all to shape us and to bring us further with you. We're thankful for this topic that we have discussed about love and about all the aspects of it, what things can prevent us from feeling and giving it, how we can overcome these things. And God, we know at the center of it all is you, and we need to learn how to accept your love, the fact that you love us no matter what we have done in our past, no matter what we will do, Lord. You knew it all, and you still created us. You still love us. You created each of us for a purpose as the solution to a problem. And we are just asking that you'll help us to realize this and to live accordingly, Lord. Help us to accept your love and to overflow and give love to others as well. God, we want to ask that you will protect us throughout the rest of this night. Bless and protect all of our listeners. And we ask that you will keep us safe until the next walk. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And the next walk will definitely be on March the 17th.
Oh, good job.
Make
At
sure you
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Make sure you guys tune in with us next time. And also, guys, we want to hear your thoughts, your comments, your questions as well. So make sure you talk to the walk. You can go to our Instagram in our bio. I believe the link is Linktree/MZYouth, but it's linktr.ee/MZYouth. You guys can ask any questions. You can leave any comments.
Anonymously.
We won't know who it's from. Remember, no topic is off limits. So if you guys can, what am I trying to say? You guys can tell us what our next topic is going to be, pretty much.
Pretty much.
So we don't want to do all the talking. We want to hear from you guys, too. So make sure you talk to the walk, and we will see you guys next time.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Whoa. Before you go, make sure you like us on all social media platforms at The Walk Live, and find us on any of your favorite podcast platforms. Our journey doesn't have to end here. Join us on the next walk.